I have worked with Tarot and the Tree of Life for more than 40 years. I'm not a tarot reader. I have used tarot as an enlightenment tool, meaning I used it mostly for meditation or as a device to summon intuition. The original and foremost purpose of tarot is the facilitation of communication with other levels of consciousness, with the purpose of guidance. There are 3 levels of consciousness. First, superconsciousness, then self-consciousness, that's our consciousness, and subconsciousness. Superconsciousness and subconsciousness don't speak English, German, or Spanish. They speak the language of consciousness, which is pictorial and symbolic. Subconsciousness speaks to us through dreams, and superconsciousness speaks to us through visions or inspirations. Whenever it gets pictorial and symbolic, we are communicating through the language of consciousness. Traditional tarot decks speak the language of consciousness, and that's why they can facilitate the communication with the higher self, subconsciousness, and other sentient beings. If it comes to meditation or tarot reading, traditional tarot decks are the most effective. But there is an issue with the graphic quality of traditional tarot decks. Oversimplified, there are 2 types of tarot decks. Tarot decks that express the imagination and artistic talent of their authors, and traditional tarot decks that are designed according to the language of consciousness. Examples of traditional decks are the Marseille and Rider-Waite tarot deck. While the first type of tarot decks are usually well crafted, the designs of traditional decks leave us wanting. The quality of the illustrations are medieval and the pictures have flaws. See for yourself. The lack of graphic quality of traditional tarot cards pulled me out of my meditations. Instead of attuning to the state of mind pictured by a tarot card, my mind mulled over the graphic flaws and imagined possible improvements. One day, I decided to produce a tarot deck that is based on original tarot symbolism, but that has immersive illustrations. That was 5 years ago. For 4 years, I worked with a digital illustrator and we illustrated one card after another. That was tedious, took a long time, and it cost me quite some money. Beginning of 2023, we were finally done with the illustrations. In addition to improving the illustrations of tarot cards, I wanted to update some of the titles too. There were 3 reasons for that. First, some of the titles had violent connotations, like the Chariot, which is a war machine, or the Hanged Man, who reminds of torture and execution. Second, I wanted to eliminate blinds. At the time the tarot was designed, enlightenment was a dangerous business. As it seems, the authors of the tarot used blinds to disguise the original purpose of tarot. The 2 most obvious examples of that are the devil and death. In the context of enlightenment, there is no such thing as the devil, only adversity. The death card doesn't depict death at all. In fact, it stands for the opposite, which is immortality. The skeleton in the picture symbolizes our soul that transmigrates along the stream of its incarnations, the river, toward enlightenment, the rising sun at the horizon. On its way, it reaps wisdom, understanding, and empathy. Hence, I changed the title Devil to Adversity and the title Death to Transformation. Third, I wanted to give the minor arcana titles too. The original tarot titles of the minor arcana repeat the obvious, which is a missed opportunity. For instance, the picture of the Ten of Swords shows 10 swords. The title, Ten of Swords, doesn't add any insight to the picture. Now check out the Enlightenment tarot title of the Ten of Swords, which is Plan. Isn't that much more meaningful? Giving meaningful titles to the minor arcana has an additional benefit. Tarot readers don't need to explain to their querents the meanings of the minor arcana. The querent can instantly grasp the meaning of Plan, and the tarot reader can dive straight into the interpretation of the spread. I didn't plan to work on the meanings of tarot cards that pertain to tarot readings. I wanted to use those which are available, tidy them up a bit and reuse them. but I found that tarot card meanings were a mess. Many meanings were fuzzy, contradictory, and overlap. I made a separate video about the issue of overlapping meanings of tarot cards. Please look for the link in the video description. Tarot card meanings are a mess because tarotists got meanings from various sources. These are the position of the tarot cards on the Tree of Life, astrological correspondences, symbolism, intuition, and fortune telling. Further, many of these interpretations are shaped by the personal perspectives, knowledge, and linguistic background of the tarotists. The tarot meanings you know today are mostly astrological and go back to the Golden Dawn and Arthur Edward Wade. Astrology is a tool of divination, and astrological tarot card meanings gear towards divination or fortune telling. They are unsuitable for tarot readings. I'm not a tarot reader, but I occasionally conduct tarot readings for friends or acquaintances. I always rely on meanings that pertain to the tarot card's position on the Tree of Life, the holistic framework. I do so because I'm well acquainted with this framework and I have a hard time memorizing unconnected meanings. I soon realized that I didn't want to contribute to the current mess of tarot meanings. But to avoid that, I had to develop an objective and holistic framework which would yield clear and unbiased tarot card meanings. And once this framework was established, it should enable anyone to arrive at consistent meanings. Fortunately, such a framework is already in place, and I just needed to reuse it, the Tree of Life. As I interpreted the titles and meanings for the tarot cards according to their position on the Tree of Life, I ran into an unrecognized issue, the issue of the 4 suits. Originally, the 4 suits represent the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life in the 4 universes, or 4 worlds. The suit of Wands represents the Sephiroth in Atsiluth, the suit of Cups represents the Sephiroth in Bria, the suit of Swords represents the Sephiroth in Yetzirah, and the suit of Pentacles represents the Sephiroth of Asya. But in order to access the higher realms of Yetzirah, Bria, and Atsiluth, and become receptive to their influence, we need to succeed in enlightenment first. For this reason, the 4-world model doesn't work for tarot readings. I needed a new model. The Magician card helped me with that. On the Magician's table, you can see 4 implements: the wand, the cup, the sword, and the pentacle. These are the 4 human mental faculties: intention, wand; imagination, cup; intelligence, sword; action, pentacle. These 4 implements also represent the 4 levels of human expression, which are the spiritual level, the creative feeling level, the intellectual level, and the bodily level. The Sephiroth's success, splendor, foundation, and domain form human personality. Netzach is the sphere of creativity, feelings, and desires. Od is the sphere of intelligence, analysis, and reason. Yod is the mind, and Malkuth represents the human body. Tifereth is the seat of the higher self, the cosmic being that lives in our hearts, protecting, guiding, and inspiring us from within. In order to arrive at the new psychological model for the 4 suits, we need to consider one more important information, i.e. that each Sephira contains a Tree of Life. This produces the following 4-layered model. First, the suit of Wands represents the Tree of Life in Tifereth and the spiritual level of human expression. The respective human faculty is intention, Wands. The suit of Cups represents the Tree of Life in Netzach, the creative feeling level of human expression. The respective human faculty is imagination, the Cups. The suit of Swords represents the Tree of Life in Hod, the intellectual level of human expression. The respective human faculty is intelligence, the ability to discern and think. The suit of Pentacles represents the Tree of Life in Malkuth, the bodily level of human expression. The respective human faculty is the ability to sense, to see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, and act with our body, as well as speak. What about Yesod? Yesod is the mind or medium or stage where intention, imaginations, thoughts, and sense impressions play out. This model also helps defining the basic characteristics of the court cards. Queen, King, Knight, and Page of Wands represent willful people. King, Queen, Knight, and Page of Cups stand for creative, feely people. King, Queen, Knight, and Page of Swords personify intelligent people. And King, Queen, Knight, and Page of Pentacles symbolize practical, down-to-earth people. As you can see, I faced 4 challenges. A, to re-engineer the meanings of the tarot cards for tarot readings using the Tree of Life as a psychological framework. B, take the 4 levels of human expression into consideration. C, to look inside the Sephiroth and explore the trees of life in Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Malkuth. And D, engineer the meanings of major arcana on the 4 levels of human expression. As far as I can see, none of these challenges have been attempted before. The position of the tarot cards on the Tree of Life determine their primary meanings. Unfortunately, the meanings of the Sephiroth and path of the Tree of Life are a bit of a mess too. Oversimplified, the Tree of Life is a glyph for 3 things: the totality of the human self, the universe with its 4 worlds, and God. Often, these meanings are mixed up. For instance, the first Sephira is called Kether, which means intention or will. That's a psychological term. The 6th Sephira, Tiferet, translates as beauty, which is an internal experience. The 7th Sephira, Netzach, means victory or success, which is an external experience. Malkuth, the 10th Sephira, means kingdom, which is a thing. Soon it became clear to me that I needed to impose an additional voluntary restriction upon the framework. I had to limit myself to the Tree of Life that describes the totality of the human self. For this reason, I decided to change all tarot card titles to psychological terms. This determined the prime use of the Enlightenment Tarot, psychological tarot readings. Psychological tarot readings trace adversity back to the queerance weaknesses or inner demons. That was a moment of grace because I found my niche and everything suddenly made sense and fell into place. By doing so, I jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. The Tree of Life is an intricate map of the human self. The totality of the self consists of 4 trees of life, whereby each Sephira contains a tree of life as well. This gives us 4,096 states of mind or powers of consciousness. Luckily, I had to interpret only the trees of life in the 4 Sephiroth, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Malkuth. But I still had to identify the power of consciousness each card represents, its positive and negative application, and a positive and negative experience. That adds up to almost 400 psychological terms. Of course, I challenged myself to come up with 400 unique psychological terms and not repeat one. The most tedious aspect of this undertaking was juggling the ambiguity of psychological terms. For instance, what is the difference between happiness, joy, fun, and pleasure? I had to take a linguistic scalpel to psychological terms and words that describe emotions, feelings, and states of mind. I can't remember having done something as tedious as that. It took me 6 months to finalize the first draft of that matrix, and I'm still tinkering. I will probably be still tinkering for another year. Psychological tarot readings are a thing now. Even some psychiatrists use already tarot for psychoanalysis and therapy. For instance, Arthur Rosengarten, who made the tarot presentable to a professional psychological audience. But he uses common tarot card meanings and interprets tarot symbolism with common sense. For instance, Arthur interprets the Hermit as an indicator of the queerance tendency towards loneliness or introversion. While the Hermit card pictures loneliness, loneliness is not the driving force here. The power of consciousness of the Hermit card is attainment, and loneliness is just a byproduct of attainment. Further, the seeming loneliness of the Hermit is an apparition. The The hermit is in the company of other souls who accomplished attainment and which are standing on other peaks nearby. But they're not shown. Maybe the Enlightenment Tarot deck is the missing piece in the psychological tarot reading domain. At least, I hope it will help. The next step in the Enlightenment Tarot project is using tarot for therapy. Using tarot for therapy isn't new either, but the Enlightenment Tarot framework may make tarot therapy more effective. To understand this, we need to know where tarot cards get their magical aura from. Tarot cards deliver a dual hemisphere impact. The images affect the left, creative, imaginative side of the brain, and the titles affect the right, cognitive side of the brain. Dual hemisphere impacts ignite sparks of inspiration. The old school tarot titles of the minor arcana don't deliver a cognitive impact since they carry the same meanings as the image. For instance, the picture of the Ten of Swords shows 10 swords. The title, Ten of Swords, states the obvious. For that reason, the minor arcana of the Enlightenment Tarot have psychological titles, which ease the reading of minor arcana. In the case of a few major arcana, it's even worse. Let's take the Death Transformation card as an example again, which doesn't depict death at all, but is opposite, immortality. The picture of the Death card and its title produce cognitive dissonance. One may object that an observer may associate the skeleton with death, which would eliminate the dissonance. This may be true on the conscious level, but the observer's subconsciousness understands the symbolism of the white skeleton. Hence, this card produces a dissonance between the intuitive subconsciousness understanding of the image and the cognitive response to the title. Images are more powerful than thoughts. That's why negated instructions sometimes fail. For instance, when you tell a child, don't touch the dog, you produce the image of touching a dog in the child's mind. That image will induce the child to touch the dog, even though you put the word don't in front of that picture. If you want to be effective, better tell the child, dogs bite. One of the first rules you will learn when you study creative writing is show, don't tell. This rule suggests showing events through descriptions and action rather than telling them. An example of a tell is, he's angry. This is a show. His face turns red and he makes a fist. The pictures of tarot cards show and the titles tell. The inventors of the tarot innovated enlightenment because they made use of the power of showing. Previously, enlightenment wisdom was available in writing only. Because of the power of showing, the subconscious intuitive responses to tarot images prevail over the conscious cognitive responses to the titles. Meaningful titles can, together with the image, deliver a spark of inspiration. Second, the titles help to take the subconscious intuitive response to tarot cards to the surface of consciousness. This helps tarot readers to articulate and communicate the meanings that pertain to the querent's question. Tarot cards picture the positive and spiritual expression of a power of consciousness. Subconsciousness understands these pictures perfectly. By merely looking at tarot cards, subconsciousness rearranges itself and discards wrong patterns of thinking and selfish patterns of desiring. How far I will pursue tarot therapy, I don't know yet. 2 books are already in the making. The first book shall help to overcome depression with tarot. The second shall help to overcome ADHD with tarot. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Enlightenment Tarot and discovered an inspiration or two. As you can see, creative pursuits can take quite interesting turns and take us to uncharted land. Please spread the light with a like and a share, and don't forget to subscribe. Love and light.